We've had the butcher shop for, this is our 20th year. We have a property out at Upper Yarraman, and I am the 4th generation there now. My kids are the 5th generation.
Yarraman is a town of just over 1,000 people, about 2 hours inland from Queensland's Sunshine Coast.
We don't have a lot of industry in our area, so there's not a lot of population. So a lot of good young people leave our area, chasing work in the bigger cities.
Just a few minutes further west is the Tarong Power Station, one of 7 sites on which the Federal Coalition wants to build a nuclear facility.
My initial thought was nuclear, bombs, danger. So it was a little bit scary, but when I put some thought into it and thought, well, if that brings industry to our area, that's great for our town.
The finer details of the opposition's nuclear energy proposal haven't been announced. We still don't know how much it'll cost and how much of the bill taxpayers will foot, or where nuclear waste will eventually be stored.
I guess the big thing for me is that we need to be assured that it's going to be safe, and I think that's the big question on everyone's lips, is how safe it's going to be. But if we can be assured of that, I think it'll be wonderful.
But that cautious optimism isn't shared by some across the country.
At this pub in Muswellbrook in the New South Wales Hunter Valley, the locals are also faced with the prospect of having a nuclear plant nearby.
We're approximately 30 minutes drive from Liddell Power Station. And what we're contemplating is the alternative between one side of politics saying they'll use Liddell to manufacture solar panels, and another side of politics saying that they would use Liddell to produce nuclear power. It's pretty clear for our family which one is a safe, viable option.
I'm gobsmacked that Dutton would think it was a good idea. And I think, unfortunately, I don't think most of the population are going to understand that it's really a Trojan horse for the coal and gas industry.
You can't stick wind farms up anywhere you want. Big, huge towers. Think, what are you going to make a fun park out of them later on? Yeah? Or big solar panel farms. That's just taking up everything. At least with nuclear power, it's underground. You might have a tower or something up. Less in impact, and we've got enough holes in the ground in our area to be able to hide it. No one would see it.
Each site earmarked for a nuclear plant is a current or former coal-fired power station. There's Tarong and Callide in Queensland, Muja in WA, Port Augusta in South Australia and Loy Yang in Victoria. In New South Wales there are 2, Mount Piper near Lithgow and here in the Hunter Valley, Liddell. It's been decommissioned by its owner AGL last year after operating for over half a century.
Our community is actually quite frightened. At the moment, there's no forefront on what the job future is for this area. At the end of the day, we want certainty, we want to provide opportunities for our families, we want to be able to support our community. I want to focus on the fact that my employees, the ways in which we can keep them into a future.
Steve Fordham runs a business which does earthworks and site rehabilitation for the mining industry. He says Liddell closing was a significant blow to the community and has created real uncertainty in the Hunter.
People don't understand when these big companies leave, it's the little businesses, it's the local people are the ones to suffer.
He believes with enough political imagination, nuclear power can be the saviour of the many regions impacted by the phasing out of coal by turning them into free power zones.
My proposal to the government currently is that all residents get free power, and also businesses. And I can tell you at the moment, if you want to create manufacturing, there's 2 ways to do it. You either have cheap labour or you have cheap power. We live in an economy in a country where we're not going to have the cheap labour force, but if we can create the free power or cheap power, at the end of the day we'll create it, and within 2 years I reckon you'll have Arnott's Biscuit Company here making Tim Tams.
Look, getting nuclear power here to start with is the first fantasy.
Dan Rappacolli is the federal member for Hunter. He's the only Labor-held seat in which the Coalition would like to build a nuclear plant, but electoral boundaries could be changing, meaning the power station might soon be located in Barnaby Joyce's electorate of New England.
So currently Liddell is in the seat of Hunter, and if it does change, then we will actually lose the power station. That will go up into New England, but we will also still have a fair bit of land, a fair chunk of the land that AGL own, that will still be in the Hunter as well. But I'll make sure that I'm out there fighting for the workforce, for people in this area.
He says the opposition leader Peter Dutton's plan for the power station is unrealistic.
For him to say that it'll be done by 2035 to 2037, that is just no way known they can do that. There's nowhere in the world that has happened at this stage.
There are a number of legislative hurdles the Coalition would need to get over for its nuclear plan to succeed. Firstly, it would need to repeal the national prohibition on nuclear power, and then the bans currently in place in Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland. Currently, all state premiers affected by this proposal are against the idea of nuclear power. And here in Queensland, the state Liberal National Party, who appear likely to be in government by the end of the year, also oppose it. Kilcoy sits on the main road between Brisbane and the Tarong Power Station. It's a town built around agriculture and forestry, and local Cameron Smart says it makes sense to repurpose Tarong rather than building renewables elsewhere.
Either you're taking farmland or you're taking forests or something and you're developing renewable energies and you're actually taking that land away, whereas this is already an area that has been disturbed.
Do you have any concerns about nuclear waste or the potential for a nuclear accident?
It's like anything, I've got a concern when I get into a car and drive a car, but subject to due diligence and the appropriate controls in place, then yeah, I don't see as big of an issue.